That was for Larry, to keep going, Larry, sorry.
See it.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
It was on Facebook. Somebody had it on Facebook.
Do you know the story about this hotel on the
Was
left?
that Michael Cooper, Alex's brother that had
No,
it?
mine.
Because Mike Cooper had a bunch of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Robbie, just give me the sign. You want me to be quiet?
Well, it's
This-
going to be shortly, so speak quickly.
Okay, this hotel started out as a 3-story building, right? The 3rd story burned off of it in a fire in the 1940s.
Oh,
In the 1970s, the 2nd floor burned off, and the 1st floor is still there in
it's still
Hastings.
there.
That's me. Okay, now we have to be
Now I
quiet.
can be quiet.
Be quiet now. Are you all ready? Okay. Okay, we're going to call, this one doesn't work well. It's a dud.
At least you have
We're going to call the Historic Preservation Board meeting to order for January 8th, 2015. Roll call, please. Keandra?
Roberta Carrera,
Present.
Linda Cranfield,
Present.
Robert Goodwin, Mary Reed, present, Larry Beaton,
Here.
Elizabeth Van Rinsberg,
Present.
Gilbert Evans Jr., Laura Schellenberger.
Okay. I'm going to, did everybody have an opportunity to review the minutes for December? Seems like we just met. Anything needed to be noted about that? Any input, any changes?
I actually sent a few changes already to Keandra, and I think she took care of those.
Okay, you
So-
probably should let us know what those are, just so the rest of the folks here know on the board. Keandra, do you know, or Elizabeth?
One was, I believe I suggested that if there was an organization out there that wanted to turn the Quonset hut into a pub, and it had appeared in the minutes as hub.
Okay, okay.
The other one,
That's the only one I remember.
Okay, that's fine. Okay,
Yeah,
with
they-
it-
they
did
really
anybody
were-
else have any corrections, changes, et cetera?
I think they really were tiny changes, mostly just grammatical.
Okay. Call for motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
With those minor corrections?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, appeals procedure. Any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the Historic Preservation Board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings that includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based at the expense of the appellant. Florida Statute 286-0105. Old business, there is none. New business, case 14-41, location 923 Laurel Street. The applicant is John Nelson on behalf of the Palatka Housing Authority, and the request is for a certificate of appropriateness for the demolition of one condemned building, 923 Laurel Street. Was it only the one?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Staff?
Madam Chair, board members, Thad Crow, Planning Director, you have a staff report before you. There were 2 properties. This one is at the corner, get my bearings, 923. 913 is immediately next to it, to the east, as a non-contributing structure.
Okay.
That did not require your approval for demolition. This structure, however, was a contributing structure, and you have the site file. It is actually a fairly significant craftsman bungalow. I should say it was a fairly significant craftsman bungalow, architectural style. Also locally significant as a home to prominent Palatkans, Rosa Ragsdale and Clint Snyder. I think you have some information about their contributions to the community. We did unfortunately lose this. It was a total loss. Some board members have asked me about this, and our building official and fire marshal inspected it pretty thoroughly and determined that it was a total loss beyond any renovation. It would require reconstruction, so in essence, new construction. We did take pictures and document it to the best we could, but it was pretty far gone. And also, more importantly, it represented a safety, life and safety hazard, so we really couldn't leave it there and wait for a board meeting. We had to take pretty quick action. And I appreciate Mr. Nelson's quick action in taking the buildings down. So In any case, this is an after-the-fact approval. We can't do much to bring it back, but we do for the purposes of procedural purposes. We need to have you okay this after the fact. And if you decide not to, then I'll have to go back to plan B. And I'm sure we'll get that.
And resurrected, okay. Okay.
How long ago was the fire?
I beg your pardon?
How long ago was the fire where the structure
Oh,
burned?
gosh.
It's
It's a good-
been a while.
It's a
Good
long
two
time.
couple of years, 2 or 3 years, I would
No.
guess.
They sat there for a
It's,
while.
and there was multiple fires. There
And
was
it's
more than one,
something we
actually,
did
I
not
believe.
catch up with the way we
Probably
should
from
have.
vandalism.
I didn't know the extent of the damage. When our guys got in there, we finally did get in there. It took a while, but because it's hard to get on the private property.
Mhm.
But they were able to get onto it. We took pretty quick action when we were able to assess the situation.
I guess I completely understand the need for a retroactive permit if a homeowner has a giant hole in the roof and the rain is coming in sheets and they need to go ahead and do something to fix the program. I have the hardest time wrapping my head around, the house has already been demolished, yet now we'd like your permission.
It's totally cleared, yeah, the whole area is.
I mean, you're right when you say where are the teeth involved in, no, this was a historic structure, and we'd like you to put it back. It just doesn't work that way. I also question that a couple of years have passed between the fire actually occurring and all of a sudden we're now looking at a life and safety hazard. And I further wonder when I look back at the minutes of our last board meeting, where it says Mr. Crow advised the board that the houses were a life and safety hazard, and the retroactive approval will come before the board at the January meeting. Mr. Crow advised the board that the building was a total loss, but then the minutes go on to say that our chairperson Correa advised the board that the flooring that was in the house is now in another structure on South 4th Street in their kitchen and looks very nice. How could a structure that is indeed a total loss and a health and safety hazard indeed have pristine flooring that could be pulled out of it and installed in another structure? Was it a safety hazard before the flooring was pulled out, or was it a safety hazard as
I
a
can only
result of-
speak to the fact that the person that pulled the flooring out and ended up somewhere else, that person did it in conjunction with the previous owner's approval and agreement. That was a deal they cut with the previous owner. The house, from somebody who's had a historic home, lost to fire, but yet still standing, that ended up ultimately being demolished. That health and safety is a health and safety because you can have kids and go in there, and there were a lot of sections of it that you couldn't walk in, but there were some spots where you could get in to remove flooring. But the long and the short of it, it was a danger to the community. And I did see the inside of it, and I, again, have lost a house that you couldn't save, and I can see the difference, and there was a difference. But that room, that flooring, you could get to and remove without the house caving in on you, essentially. And he did that probably a year or two ago. And as a house sits vacant, after fire, exposed to the elements, it disintegrates rather quickly. So, as you know.
And is it, if I remember correctly, because I drive down that way quite a bit, that I had seen other people taking other components from the house that were salvageable.
Unsecured, I mean, but
Yeah.
frankly speaking, I think that the city, we kind of dropped the ball on this. We didn't move as quickly as we should have. I think we went through the normal code enforcement actions pretty quickly, but that process moved very slowly. And I guess we weren't aware of the extent of the damage, even though you kind of see it driving by. But once we were able to get on the property, we were advised that we needed to move pretty quickly to take it down.
Yeah, and private land ownership makes it difficult.
It does make it very difficult.
Let me bring up this question then. The duplex home on 13th Street there that was burned and it's still sitting there and stuff, what's happening with that? Is that still the owner's responsibility?
I don't.
We don't know, that's not in the
Liability?
district.
No,
It's
I
not
understand
something
that, but I'm
that's-
just curious. It's
Well,
in the
that
city,
has
but-
not got the code enforcement
I
anymore.
can look into it and let
Yeah.
you know, Ms. Crable.
Okay.
But, I mean, you're right on most of your points, and I think the retro piece, I don't know if there was a better way to do it in the future, perhaps?
Well, and you know, once again, the whole thing is rather a moot point. The house
Yes,
is gone.
well, that's absolutely a moot point.
But by the same token, when you come from the perspective of just about anything can be saved, I think it's just really damn sad.
I would agree. But I think that, I guess that you can learn from these experiences, and I think that when we do in the future have historic homes, they're burned, or something similar happens to them, we probably need to do a quick assessment and really test the bounds of the whole private property issues, because these are important historic resources. The building official does have the ability to get on the property that other staff members don't. So I think in the future, we need to move a little more aggressively in situations like this.
I agree, and I agree, I'm also of the ilk that most everything can be saved, but again, when you get, after a year or two of having the water and smoke damage to begin with, and then the open elements, then you get to a point where there is very little left to save, sadly. I think if after the first fire, there was a possibility. When vandals got in, probably, I don't know the cause of the second fire, I think it was too late. It was neglected too long.
And one of the houses, they come before us for, put a new roof on it. They wanted to put a metal roof and we wouldn't let them. We had them put the asphalt shingles on it, so.
Anyway, again, even though it's a moot point and it's happened. Motion?
Motion to accept staff recommendation.
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
Is there any public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, Shirley, I'm sorry. That's my fault, we got carried away in our conversation. Come on up, please.
No, is anybody?
Go ahead, Tony. Name,
Tony
And
Harlow,
address for the
322
record.
Madison Street. Seems the city drops the ball quite a bit. Anyway, I agree it is unusual to approve something that's already been done, and I think that it's kind of funny that this should happen. The demo, the priority would be given to the demolition right when somebody wants it torn down. I think that's kind of strange, but anyway, I would suggest that if you don't want this to go on to the record as approval of a demolition of a property, then maybe you should deny it and let the things let them hammer out the way they need to hammer out. It's, I mean, regardless, the building's gone, so denying it, it's not going to do you anything, right? The building's still gone.
we already made the motion. I can understand your perspective. We already made that motion. In either case, it's not going to, we do have the
The
ability
motion
to.
was made prior to
Right,
public.
correct. So, but thank you.
So will you call another question?
That's up to the board.
Well, let me ask at this point, what would be the ramifications of allowing them to demolish something that has already been demolished, apart from possibly creating a lot of homework for the city and proving a point that we can't just willy-nilly knock down historic things because they never come back?
Through the chair, if you look at the last page of your staff report, and we've dealt with this before with other requests like this, you are obligated to look at reasonable justice and equity for the property owner. And what that essentially means is you have to balance, on one hand, the importance of saving the building, on the other hand, the reasonableness of restoring it to its original condition before the fire. And I think it's just common sense to know that the total reconstruction would far outweigh. So I think you are obliged to grant this COA because of this criterion in and of itself. And I should have made that point a little stronger, but the fact that it was so far gone, and we're talking about totally rebuilding, to force the owner to preserve it as it was, that would not be reasonable justice and equity and would not meet your ordinance.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
further discuss, I don't think we completed our vote, so I think we're kind of still.
Well, we did,
I mean,
actually.
Well, we didn't, you
You didn't.
didn't ask for any nays, so I don't think the
I was
vote's
just,
complete.
that's true. I was
So
just.
I think we're still kind of in limbo with the vote, and do we want to get an opinion on that? I mean, do y'all feel like the vote was?
Wait, one minute, Attorney, one in
Madam Chair,
time,
just
please. One time,
For the
please.
interest of making this clean, I would suggest you rescind the vote.
Okay.
Just to make
Okay.
it clean.
I will rescind the
So-
vote. Do we have a motion
So
to
do I
rescind?
need
We
to
need a
res-
motion to rescind the
There's
vote,
another
please.
comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll
let's
have
get
that.
the
We'll get rid
motion
of
to
the-
rescind first.
Okay, I'll move that we rescind the vote.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any more public comment first? Let's
I'm
get
still
through the
here.
public comments. Okay, you're still here. You got a couple of more minutes, Tony. Don't exceed 3,
Well,
please.
I only talked like half a minute.
Okay, I said don't exceed 3, please. That's what I said, you had a couple more. Okay, go ahead.
Should any consideration be for what the projected
We
use
can't
of
do
the
that.
property
We
is?
can't do that here.
Well, if,
At this
if
time,
the
at this
consideration
time.
of rebuilding a property, Judge, what was your terminology there, justice and?
Reasonable justice and equity for the property owner.
Yeah, except that eventually will come this way, but right now we can't discuss what's going to be. We can only discuss what's now. We don't have that ability to do that right
But
now.
how does that play into mixing these two together?
We don't.
And if you deny the request, maybe it'd be easier for these two to join in later on.
We can speculate on that, but I don't know that we have an answer to that, frankly.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tony. Does anybody else want to get up for public comment? Come on up, please, and state your name and address for the record.
John Nelson, like a house authority, 400 North 15th Street. But it might be entertaining for you to know that the building demolition was ordered by the court prior to Palatka Housing Authority purchasing the property. So it wasn't, our doing that the building came down. It was ordered by the courts.
Okay, thank you.
That helps
Thank
with the
Who
decision.
went before the court? to
Or
get it
That's-
ordered?
Well, Thad can explain, it's via the code enforcement process. If you want to explain briefly,
okay.
Thad?
Yes, we have a process of code enforcement where we take cases like this, where the city is trying to acquire or demolish an unsafe structure, and the city doesn't own it, and we have to go before a judge to get that approval.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, quickly.
I got 20 more seconds, I think. Is the process to notify properties within a certain distance, right? For
The code enforcement?
Yes, we did send out letters to owners within
What
100,
about signage on the property?
and there is a sign on the property.
Yep.
And that's for any.
Any COA, yes.
Anybody else from the public? Okay, public comments closed.
Just as another small point of reference, we're talking about this property being an absolute, utter, and total loss. However, I notice that the entire front section of the property, and indeed the foundation, looks as though it was constructed out of decorative concrete block, which survives fires nicely. We have a large amount of decorative concrete block that came to us in a roundabout way after the house at 304 North 3rd Street burnt, and there's not a thing wrong with it. So once again, to assess a property at a total loss, I just can't see it.
It comes more also from the insurance standpoint. I don't know if insurance has anything to do with this. And yeah, you're right, the block, we don't have an architectural salvage. You want to open up an architectural
I would
salvage
rather
corporation?
keep
We'd
the
love to have
historic
one
building.
here. I know
I
that
could go to
Elizabeth.
Jacksonville and salvage their historic buildings.
But the reality is the court, it was not something that was feasible in this situation, unfortunately. Okay, so here we are. What's the board's pleasure?
Well, I guess I just wanted to clarify one other point now that this is kind of opened back up again. So I guess now maybe having heard some of this, I guess maybe now I start having a little bit of problems with the chronological order of how this was handled. Can you tell us what the date was that the building was condemned by the city of Palatka? And what about the court proceedings? Should not at some point this have come before the Historic Preservation Board, before the city went into that? Or I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I'm just asking the question
Or at
about
least notified.
about the order, about how this was accomplished.
I do not have an exact chronology for you. I could go back and resurrect, that's the wrong word, and create one. All I can tell you is my involvement in this, my awareness of it, did not come until relatively recently. And the code enforcement segment, which is in the police department, was working through their channels. Obviously, we need to improve our coordination because I was not aware of what they were doing with the court and the process that they were using. So,
And I guess
and I would say that over the holidays is when it came to
Okay, okay. And I guess the other point is, the point that Mr. Hartwell brought up is, normally, and unless I missed it in a previous package, normally don't we get the copy sheet of what notifications were sent out? I mean, I've seen that in our packets in the past.
We don't do it, we can if the board wants us to,
Okay.
we've not done it before.
It's not,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it in our
Yeah,
packets.
it was a long
before.
time ago,
But
though.
it's
We
been
haven't
a
seen them
while
in a
back,
while.
yeah.
That hasn't
We
happened.
try to save trees, but if the
No,
board
I
wants
understand,
to, we're
but I
done.
mean, do you know off the top of your head about how many, because I know, you know, on a couple of sides of that, it's commercial, you know, of where that's located, but were the residential units in that block as part of that notification?
Yes, that would have been probably half of that block that would have been notified. Probably 3, 4 residential properties would have gotten notification.
Okay.
Because some of them are vacant too right in the middle of the year. as
Right,
well,
right.
even
And
though it's
I also wanted to just mention that prior to the fires, the fires were at different times for the different structures. But prior to those fires, those buildings had sat vacant for a period of time. I think actually the one on the corner sat vacant a little longer than the other one because, as Linda brought up, that house had been before this board about doing some improvements to it,
The
using
one on
one of
the
the
inside,
grants.
And
yeah.
this is part of the problem we have is on the code enforcement side, these things drag out for a long time. We have owners that aren't responsive and that's when they have to go through the whole court procedure and get the judge involved. That takes a lot of time and the houses just sit there and sit there.
Madam Chair, I'll offer the motion for staff recommendation approval.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, the next item on our agenda, if I can get back to the agenda. 1 second. Get the pages. Case 14-42, 220 South 4th Street, John and Patty Vogt. Request for a certificate of appropriateness to add a 12 by 16 wooden shed, South Historic District.
Madam Chair, and I'll quickly give you a little overview here, and the applicant, I'm sure, has some information for you. As your staff report says, this is a shed in a backyard. And we have, in the past, worked with folks who are putting sheds up, understanding it's kind of a modern convenience. It may not always be able to be replicated in a, quote, historic appearance. And the solution that we have taken and approved in several other cases has been to screen such uses from public view so that they are not seen and they don't present negative visual impacts to the historic district from public rights-of-way or from adjacent properties. You have the proposed site plan that this shed was intelligently located in the rear. There's some existing vegetation which already will serve to screen it. We did look at the criteria for consideration of the Secretary of Interior standards, and while we did note that it was an incompatible structure, and there are certain things that could be done, and I think we tried to, I'm not sure that we painted that picture completely because we went more toward the screening option, but for example, the vertical siding could have been horizontal and there could have been more vertical shaped windows to provide more of that look, and a steeper roof. I mean, there's a number of things that could be done to make it compatible, but in absence of that, because that's when we get into the whole reasonable justice thing, and it becomes an expense. Sheds are pretty affordable. A custom shed is pretty expensive. In lieu of creating, a more compatible structure, we do recommend that the maximum screening be achieved, and I'll quickly read this. We recommend approval for the shed as presented with the condition that there be a fence screening it from Laurel Street, a picket fence, not a stockade, or a privacy fence, which are not historically appropriate. With the pickets painted white, positioned closer together to ensure maximum screening. The fence shall be supplemented when determined necessary by staff with vegetation to further screen it, including a shrub planted at the eastern terminus of this fence. So if you look at your site plan, you can kind of see they've already got some existing vegetation and they're proposing the fence. You've got a parking lot and vacant property to this side of it, so the impacts of that we weren't very concerned about. We were more concerned about the impacts of Laurel Street, and that's what we focused on. So the applicant answers any questions. Again, the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Do we want to hear applicants? Would you give your name and address for the record,
John
please?
Lowe, 220 South 4th Street. I believe in the pictures in the packet, I'm not sure the color, but it will be painted white as to reflect the same color as the body of our home. Also, the pictures that I forwarded are a little rough. They did not have the exact model I'm looking for on their showroom or at their sales site. I took a picture of one that's very close, but it was a returned unit, so it looks not very nice. So if there's any questions I can answer.
Is there any questions of Mr. Boat?
That was my first. I think it being white is going to make it look much. It's going to blend in much nicer.
They come in orange or whatever that color
Right.
is.
Now, I rode by there. There's an outbuilding in that area now. Is that on the neighbor's property?
Correct.
Oh, okay. So that's their
That's
building.
not mine.
Okay, understand.
And the fence going from Laurel to Oak Street is not mine either. I think
Okay.
that belongs to the First Baptist.
It does. Now, the fence that you're going to construct, does this go, the fence go, how long is the fence? I'm sorry.
I was gonna put 3 panels, which would be 24 feet
Okay,
from the existing fence east.
okay. And east, and so it would kind of be this fence just stops at
Correct,
the,
that'd be adjacent to my driveway where it stops.
okay.
I'm not sure which Sanborn map you used for the packet here, but this is actually one of the later ones. This would probably, might even be after 1900. But I just wanted to note for the board, I went back and looked at the Sanborns back to 1885, which of course this house is prior to 1885, but that's the first Sanborn available. And there were outbuildings behind this house originally in the 1880s. Actually, there was like a connecting, almost like a connecting walkway or something that went to a second building in the back. I'm not sure. This was used as
Outdoor
a,
kitchen or?
yeah, might have been, yeah.
Right on, huh? Any other questions from board members?
I guess it has nothing to do with the choice you've made, other than, did you look at any that might fit the
To be honest with you, the
era?
aluminum sided ones would have a slat looking pattern to them going left to right. But in the wood, I was trying to stick with, natural products, and the wooden products that they have offered are vertical rather than horizontal lap joints, so I could get one and go in one direction, which is aluminum, which is not very favorable, or go wood and it goes vertical instead of horizontal.
Any other questions from the board? Because I want to open the floor to public comment. Does anybody have any public comments? Okay, close to public comment. Oh, okay, come up and give your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Pasnell, 614 River Street. We're going to be going through the same things. We wanted to see what we're up against. And just in case we brought a picture, we've got a shed here in 1920 with vertical siding, so if that helps your decision for this.
Oh, this is the house on River Street. I thought you meant their house.
No, but
No.
it's in that tanker.
Right,
Don't
right,
pass it
understand.
around, because you can't put it back.
Is that your original photo? That's a copy, right?
That's a copy.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Neat picture.
Yeah, there's a neat picture.
And quite frankly, this shed looks a little bit better than that one, quite frankly.
Well,
That's the
At least
point.
with the,
Yeah.
Well, really the only difference I'm seeing is the flat roof.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that looks like a box, and this at least looks
Well,
like.
somebody
Yeah.
constructed it in their backyard in
Yeah.
the 1920s, that's why. In that case,
Before I was on the board.
yes.
Just a couple of years,
But
a couple of
just,
years
yeah.
before I came on the board, yeah.
Maybe that's stuff too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else, public comment? Okay, I'm going to close the floor to public comment. Board?
I'll offer the motion for acceptance of that staff recommendation.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Where's the
adjourn.
one with, what is this on here?
That is the site file for, I believe, the first, is that for the first
No,
house?
no. 220.
This is for the shed.
No,
Oh, it's-
no, this is for 220
220,
South Fourth Street,
okay.
not 200. I
Okay.
mean, one,
Yeah, 200 is,
220.
200 doesn't, well, it
200
does-
doesn't exist, well, it's got a
200 is-
modular home on
Yeah,
it now.
200 is the
It was
modular
The
house.
one
that's what I,
attached.
see, that's what I thought, and I was confused.
Yeah, that was the
when
opposite
there's other-
corner, the gray,
Okay,
the
so
Captain
this-
Gray house was
this
the
is a
opposite corner,
correction.
and it's gone. Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
thank you, that's
correct
what I
one,
thought,
yes.
okay. This one
Thank
had
you
three.
all.
Okay.
You probably should let